Let's kick start with the Nation newspaper. And the big story here is saying Babangida under fire over new position on June 12. And more reactions indeed are trailing that particular confession coming from IBB. Now, Falaye, Agbakoba, Okuromo, Afsat Abiola, newsstands, they are saying it is belated for them. And revisionist Akinyemi is talking about that leaders should always take responsibility concerning their statements. All about the June 12 confession. At this time, other stories on the front pages of the dailies this morning. We have tension as FG Osun flex muscles over local government elections. And that is today in Osun State. And more reactions indeed trailing that development in Osun. Let's get these reactions. IGP to Adeleke shall poll to avert bloodshed. And governor insists on going ahead with the poll. PDP gets court order to proceed on that particular election in Osun State. And OCEC headquarters sealed. Governor resists vehicular movement in Osun State. Let's see how this development will pan out in Osun State today. More stories on the front pages of the Nation newspaper. Stella Okotete, she's saying it's no big deal. Senate didn't confirm me as minister. I am only 40. Now she's saying that there are plans better for her. She's saying I'm only 40. Even if the Senate did not confirm her as a minister in the country. A new state requests fall short of constitutional requirements. That's not coming from me. It's coming from the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Let's quickly move on to the masthead now. PDP in fighting escalate over South Congress. And the rider here is saying Rivers Court stops party from holding zonal Congress. And more stories there. Court orders final forfeiture of Emefiele's $4.7 million US and 830 million naira property as ex-CBN governor's legal term denies ownership of properties. All of the stories there on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Quick one. Let's move on now to Saturday Punch. And the big one here is saying IBB defense executing childhood friend. Family demands restitution. And that's a big one coming from the Punch newspaper. This morning, co-plotters planned to shut down presidential jet, says Babangida and Abiola's daughter, and other reactions there concerning the statement made by IBB. More stories there on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Help, my police husband corpse seized despite paying 12 million hospital bills. Now, the widow there is giving her own reaction concerning the death of her husband and how I mentored. Unilag best graduates, 12 others down there is talking. More stories on the front page of the Saturday Punch. And we'll also talk about the Osun LG poll. Confusion reigns as courts okays election. Police withdraw in that particular development. Stop poll to avert violence. Police warn government. We'll see how this would pan out in Osun State today. Quick one. Let's move on to Weekend Trust. And the big one there on Weekend Trust this morning. All right. Okay, let's quickly get first news. I think I have first news this morning. Chaos in Idumota. Lagos demolished 650 illegal buildings and shops. Big one coming from First News this morning. And how I met my wife on Telegram. Femi Lazarus there giving his accounts on how he met his wife on Telegram. Okay, more stories on the front page of First News. Atiku RFI meeting sparks political realignment talks. As FG to scrap a visa on arrival. Introduce pre-filled entry cards. A big one there on the front pages of the First News this morning. President Tinubu approves relocation of 29 correctional centers. And we also have something on sport this morning on First News. Champions League round of 16, Bayern versus Leverkusen, Real Madrid versus Atletico, headline FX clash there on the front page of the First News this morning. And more stories there. EFCC returns 127,892 US dollar and 70,006 million naira luxury cars to fraud victims in US and others. All of the stories there on the front page of First News this morning. And all 31 state creation requests fail constitutional criteria. That's coming from the House of Reps. More stories on the front page of the dailies this morning. Let's quickly go on to the Blueprint weekend. And the big one here is talking about the 2025 Ministerial Press Briefing Series, Nigeria to harness 33 trillion naira revenue potential in livestock. This is coming from the federal government of Nigeria, and says initiative will raise GDP contribution from 32 billion US dollar to 74 billion US dollar by 2035. I'm talking from Blueprint weekend this morning. And more stories. The Senate will promote progressive governance, national development. That's coming from Akpabio. That's the president of the Senate. And court orders final forfeiture of 830 million naira, 4.7 million US property linked to Emefiele. All of the stories there on the front page of Blueprint weekend this morning. And that's how much we can take on the dailies. Quickly, let me bring you, Kemi, into some of the interesting stories that we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. But before we do that, I have the Guardian newspaper taming the menace of frequent fuel tanker accident and explosion in the country. We have Guardian weekend talking about that and some of the precautionary measures that we can help to forestall the frequent fuel tanker explosions that we have in the country. Kami, let me get your reaction on the statements that we started with this morning, talking about the IBB confession. More reactions indeed are trailing that confession made by IBB.
Right. Well, thank you, Emmanuel. Let's just wait now till when we are together to talk about this. So, of course, there's the shocking side, but let me just lean on the side of caution now that it's best to read the book in full to understand the mindset of the general, that's IBB, read it in full, get the full context, and then one can be fully acquainted with all the facts, well, according to the version of IBB himself.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for bringing us up to speed with what to look out for in the papers this Saturday.